Recording starting. Very good. All right. Welcome. This is the NCOSI Canada chapter webinar, our first webinar for the month. We're delighted to have Pablo join us to provide a good presentation on a conceptual framework for industry. Pablo is an engineer and HSC professional. Pablo has more than 17 years of experience in occupational health and safety across various sectors, including mining, construction, and the service industry. Pablo currently has a master's degree in professional risk prevention and is a candidate right now. Is that correct, Pablo?
Yeah, still.
Still, but just almost there, and for your doctorate, is that correct?
An MBA.
MBA for your
yeah.
MBA. Sorry.
Yeah,
okay. And so it's formality at this point. We're in that
absolutely.
April time frame. So pretty soon you'll be holding your MBA as well. And Pablo's background really is in engineering and management. His professional experience has focused on the practical application of risk management and the continuous improvement of workplace safety practices in very diverse operational environments, as you can imagine would be the case in a mining environment, for example. So I'm looking forward to this presentation. I think Pablo is going to give us a lot to think about and apply in our each of our own workplaces. So with that, I'll turn this over to you, Pablo. Please feel free to share your screen. I'm going to mute and take myself off camera. If anybody has any questions, we'll save that for a Q&A session at the end. And I think Pablo has some interactive questions also to ask. So let's go with the presentation.
Yes. First of all, thank you, Ivan, for the introduction. Yeah, that's me. I'm hoping to meet the expectations of today's session. And I'm here for that, right? To show you a little bit what was our research. This is part of the conclusion of the MBA path with my professor, Ali Nasseri. And why I took this, because I wanted to make a contribution of what I know from my background, from my home country in Chile. You know, mining there is pretty strong, same like here in Canada. And try to make something different, right? So to create something of a real value for the industry, maybe that I could take a real contribution. So that's the idea of this conceptual framework for something that the industry has been suffering for a lot of years now. This is the lack of a real knowledge of what is happening to us. And that's the idea of today's, what I'm wanting to present to you, right? So first, I want to show you what is the context that we have mining safety and what I'm doing, basically. Then I wanted you to move from this reporting systems, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Maybe it's going to be interesting for you to participate here and share your experience too at the moment of report, the different things that could be happening in your work environment. We're going to analyze a couple of characteristics, and these pillars, the important things that are making these systems, that are making it work. I'm going to show you a very fantastic experience that we have with a field survey in the mining sector and the service sector too, to try to get this real feedback, the current feedback of what is the reality now in the same sector where they're suffering still now. And at the end, we came with a proposal, and this is the practical part of this presentation. This is a research project too. It's not just to collect and to know what is out there, what is the good practices, for example, but now let's try to put it in the context of the mining sector and how we could take something beneficial for the sector, right? And we're going to end, as usual, with conclusions and some next steps from this starting point. That's this research, right? So my first question, I don't have access to your faces now, so I'm only looking at my screen, but what is your sector? Where you come from? What bring you here today? I'm from mining, you know that part. But what captured your attention with the title maybe of this presentation that, okay, I'm going to give it a try to this guy, I'm going to attend his presentation. You can open your mic now, I think, and share if you want.
I'll go first, Pablo. So I'm in the positioning sector. So we provide high precision, high accuracy positioning for multiple sectors. So primary sectors are defense, agriculture, and marine. And also autonomous driving. So anyway, sort of multi-sector.
Fantastic. Excellent. Perfect.
Yeah, my background is in defense. I spent 33 years in the Department of National Defense in Ottawa and Trenton. And I was part of some safety work with the Hercules transport fleet, mostly in crash investigation and trying to develop processes to avoid future crashes.
Oh, fantastic. Maybe some of the what we're going to share today is going to ring a couple of bells in your story, maybe. Perfect.
I'm from the space sector. I guess that's a little bit different. But I also worked on technology development with mainly software, AI, and things like that in the past for 3 years too as a program manager. I guess that's kind of a little bit different from the type of things everybody else does, because I think it's less about physical things and more conceptual things that happen in the background, which I think sometimes have problems as well. Things happen that you need to understand why they happen.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. I have access to your screen if you want to participate. Fantastic. But now I have an idea of our different backgrounds or different origins that we have here. And I'm going to try to use that to share this specific context where I come from, right? So I come from mining, as you already know. And this is the type of situations that we have in the past and in the current and the actuality, right? This is just to show you in our operation, for example, this is where we're suffering. To your left, you have the description of 3 different incidents in Canada, in Chile, and the States for the same situation. What we saw in the picture here, what we see in the picture, this interaction between equipments in mining. What is the problem? This is a recurrent event, and that's the problem. We identify causes that pretty much are always the same. The stage of the process is always identified, it's always the same, causes the same, factors are mostly the same. So what is happening? What we are repeating the same events once and over, right? Another type of event pretty much common in underground mines, methane explosions, okay? We don't have that particular in Chile with the type of mining that we do there, but here in the States, in North America, and also in this case in New Zealand, it's pretty much the same. Factors and causes are recurring, and this type of accidents in the mining sector keep recurring and keep there, okay? And probably one of the most famous accidents, probably you have heard this on the news, happened in Chile. Actually, in my hometown back in Chile, Copiapó. This is the accident that trapped 33 miners on the ground for 76 days. And I don't know how, but we're very lucky then. They all came alive to the surface after a big endeavor from the government and all the specialists and mining companies. Again, the problem is this underground collapse is something that is still happening. We have accidents here in Canada, in Chile, in the States, same causes, same factors. So where is the miscommunication of this? What is the problem? And we have identified...
Excuse me, Pablo.
Yes,
sorry.
Sir.
I'm having difficulty with your video. Is anybody else having difficulty with the video, Pablo's video, and the presentation?
Yes, it's pretty blurry for us.
Yeah, maybe Pablo, you might maybe if you could try just maybe turning your camera off. Let's see if we could just get more
Okay.
bandwidth to the video, just in case.
Let me change my. Okay, maybe it's that. Okay, I'm back to sharing. Okay, you can tell me if there's any.
I think it's
disruption.
still the same, still a bit blurry. It's just very low res.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else we can do.
No, that's strange.
Mm.
I'll
And
try to
others
look-
are
I'll
the
try
same
to
thing
look
with
it up.
others, right?
I'll try to look it up.
You can see it now, or still blurry?
It's still blurry.
Let me maybe share again.
It started clear, and then
It goes blurry.
yeah, I'm
What
just guessing maybe there's a bandwidth issue on your end.
Yeah, the only device that is using the network now is actually.
Oh, it's clear now. It's clear
Now it's better. Now it's better.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe it was
let's-
something with the camera and the previous sharing screen. Okay.
Maybe.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay. Let me know if there are any difficulty. Okay. So about this big question, why we're still seeing the same accidents? We identify one big contributor, and that's why that's one of the core of this research. What the literature describe as the unknown knowns, things that we already know that happen, but that information is not spread, is not shared for the whole industry or with all the participants. And in the displays here, we can see events or incidents that happen in a specific company. Most of the time has kept in that specific company. And sometimes it's even more complicated, is kept in those specific persons that are related with that accident. So when the person leave the company, the knowledge did with them. And the same idea is with the regulator. When the regulator is involved in these investigations, most of the time, sharing the information is not part of the main purpose of their own systems. The purpose is different. It's something that we're going to cover now. But the lack of information, the available information to prevent accidents is one of the main issues in today's mining, right? Probably in different sectors too. The information is there, but we are not have access to that, and we cannot take the proper measures. And it's already evidence for different investigations, the possible consequences of that. And it's exactly what the mining sector is suffering, right? So just open questions. Maybe it's not necessary for you to respond, but have you reported an accident or an incident at work? If that's the case, you know how is the process, right? Sometimes it's not so simple. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be into this. There's a lot of maybe constraints that could create a barrier between you and, okay, I'm going to report. If that's the case in your company, you have to report internally, just in your company, maybe just as a corporate level, or you have to report to an external party that could be a regulator or a different third party, whatever. And one very important that we've seen as a barrier, and we're going to discuss later, what makes you uncomfortable in reporting an accident? Okay. And this is the part where the field survey and all the interviews that we have with different interactors are giving us a lot of good answers for these questions, right? So basically, for what we know, there is out there, this exists. We are not inventing the wheel anymore here. We are just improving it. But what is there out there is basically two different approaches: mandatory reporting systems and voluntary reporting systems, okay? What is the deal with this? With mandatory reporting system for our identification and the research, they share common pillars, right? They're absolutely mandatory, so there's not an option for you, and you are legally mandated. It's one of the two topics there for the regulator and also you as an organization to report safety incidents according with the proper regulations, specific regulations that could be federal regulations, provincial regulations, or national regulations, like the case on Chile. The purpose of the focus most of the time of this mandatory reporting system is punitive. The system is looking for responsibility. There's not so much to learn from that. Is who is responsible, who is going to pay, okay, are highly regulated. The access is controlled, and this is pretty interesting. From all the process, the investigation process, the information is most of the time kept within the regulator and the company that is involved. And just at the end of the process, the information is shared somehow, and we're going to discuss how these systems, that this is not the main purpose to spread information, to learn, but how this system, and somehow they are spreading also the information at some level. Okay, and the most important part, mostly all these systems are governed by the same regulator that's applying these punitive measures to, right? So there is a problem, and who is running the system, who is in charge, who is taking the proper measures. We have a specific system there that we have identified, probably you know all of this, the Transportation Safety Board of Canada. For example, all the provincial minister office reporting for the system here in Canada at provincial level. Here in BC, we have the very famous WorkSafe BC. All the organization, it doesn't matter your field, must report all incidents, SIF, that we call severe and fatalities, to the board in this case. And for Chile, we have the CIMIN from the SONAGEMIN. This is the National Service of Geology and Mining, that is in charge to receive all this reporting of incidents, right? And the main pillars are we have discussed there. But how a real system looks in the real process? What is this, right? This is analysis. I'm going to explain you. It's not necessary for you to go to try to read everything. It's just the highlights. This is the same event that happens in BC in 2018, but through the point of view of this mandatory system here in BC. To the left, you have all the stages, all the steps from the first report from the company to the regulator to the close of the investigation for the regulator. And all this feedback, all the information that is going and is coming back, clarifications, enforcement decision if that's the case. And this is a whole process, the whole path for a mandatory reporting system. What is the outcome of this? What came at the end of the process? We know as a public, not related with this as a company or even the regulator, that an investigation was conducted because we had access to that report. I'm going to explain you how we have access to that. But this investigation, we conclude that the responsibility of this investigation and the accident was attributed to system conditions, but it's not clear which conditions. Not individual culpability was identified. Not public fines were reported yet. At least this is still a case that is still fresh, if we can call it like that, in mining. So things could happen later. We don't know. And the actual outcome, this is the real deal for this investigation, was 4 corrective actions for the company. So they have to take these proper measures according to what the regulator is asking now, recommendations and alerts. And what we have at the bottom is exactly one of that, a proof of that hazard alert that was created in this case in July of 2020. So here, basically, what came out for the whole process was 3 pieces of information. The first one was this final report almost a year after the incident in June 2019. Then we have a hazard alert in July 2020 and a summary report a couple of years ago, 2024, January. What is the problem? Is there is isolated information. These reports are not kind of talking each other. The information is not in just one repository. You could access to one report by Google, another report by the web page of the ministry here in British Columbia, and the last report, Google too. So that's a problem. The information is still kept isolated in these silos and is not considering the rest. And this is one of the things that we're going to discuss too. How we can improve safety, not just taking incidents of the whole process and the result, these outcomes, as one event only, okay? So the other big branch of this system, remember, we have the mandatory reporting system and the voluntary reporting system. The purpose of this is completely different, and that's why we have different pillars, right? So the composition of this is different. Their systems are based in a voluntary approach, so it's not mandatory for companies, organizations to participate in this. If you want it, fantastic. If you don't, nothing's going to happen. At least that's the idea, right? Are highly confidential. At least is one of the main base of a system like this. We're going to keep confidential who is reporting to create that trust. Okay, at personal and organizational level too. Just to clarify things here, because obviously when a fatality occurs in any sector, it doesn't matter that. Confidentiality at organizational level is kind of difficult to keep confidential, by the way, right? Because we know by news or wherever, and the mining sector is big, but not so big. So we have access to the information, what happened, where, and things like that at a fatality. When a fatality happens, we know, right? But for all the rest, the close call, the near miss, the minor events, the severe events, etc., the system and the confidentiality factor is going to work perfect and it's working perfect for what this system needs. Are not punitive, and this is pretty important because the governor or the organization that is running the system is not related with the regulator. Okay, so it's an independent third party that is trust for the whole industry, but it's not related with the regulators. So it's not the purpose to find responsibilities and to make someone to pay, right? The access of the information in this system is also controlled, but what comes at the end of the investigation process is completely different from this mandatory system. Most of the time, 90% probably for what we cover in different systems, the access to information is open to the public to a certain level. Okay, the whole disclosure is open for the controller and the organization, the affected organization. But you, as a third party, also just a random person, you can access most of the time to the whole process and the whole bunch of the real information of the case. So in this sense, the possibility to learn from what happened is possible, but not the best, still not the best. And that's kind of what we're going to move on with the proposal of a system, right? So the most famous reporting system, voluntary reporting systems we have identified is, for example, the aviation system in the States and the close call reporting system, train industry in the States too. And the particularity of this is both are running by NASA. And the proper question should be, why NASA? I can get the idea, okay, aviation, NASA, but train, NASA, why is related with trains? What is the purpose? So according with an interview that I'm going to explain you in a couple of minutes, they choose NASA because they trust in NASA. And that's one of the most important pillars for a voluntary system. Organizations and the ones who are participating on it must trust in the one who is running the system. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Okay, in the European sector, the aviation sector too is a voluntary reporting system, and we have another pretty famous too, or very important in UK, but it's working in an international level too in the chemical industry as a voluntary reporting system.
Excuse me, Pablo.
Yes.
I hate to interrupt your flow again.
Please.
The video is going quite blurry again, which has not been a problem so far because you're giving a very good description and we're all following along. But just in case your presentation goes into more visual, I wonder if it's worth. Yeah, maybe it's worth if you want, you could email the or put your slides in the chat or email them to me.
Let's do that immediately, and maybe we're going to resolve the problem. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry for that. I really don't know what.
No worries, and I apologize for the delay, everybody.
Let me see. I'm not sure if it's letting me paste something here in the chat.
Alternatively, you can email it to me and I can share on your
Sure.
network.
Why don't we do
Okay.
that?
I think we have it in one of the chat teams, Professor, the last one.
Yeah, but you should email it to me. I don't have access to that.
Perfect. I'll do it right now.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, technical issues.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen, right?
We're a resilient group.
Yeah, that's ideal, right? Okay, it's going.
Oh, Pablo, if you're sending it to me, send it to my Incozy email.
Okay. And that is, let me resend.
I'm putting it in the chat.
Okay. That's so strange. What I cannot show here. Okay.
No, I hate to think that I might be the jinx. My son had presented his honors thesis last night to a local association, and he had computer problems as well. Everything was working during all his practice sessions, and then he had trouble during the presentation. And maybe it's because I was there.
No. Okay, I sent the file and I'm trying to put it here in the chat. For some reason, it's not letting me. Okay, I'm going to try to share again and please let me know if you can see it better now.
Okay, no, it looks the same.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I got your presentation, so I will now open and share if you want to stop sharing your screen.
Oh, good. Thank you, Ali.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Just have to give my computer a second for it to.
I can turn on my camera now then.
I think it should. Yeah.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay,
Ali, maybe if you could just advance to the slides to catch up, but just give us just a few seconds on each slide, just so that we can digest the slide. Your narrative was really good, Pablo. So as I say, we're following along. We're not lost, but it would be good to.
So I'm going to jump here where you started talking about the different forms of systems.
Perfect. Just a brief summary for that, and it's going to be fine. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so to resume, as basically what we have to retaking the idea, we have two mainly ways to report, right? Two different systems: mandatory system and voluntary system. Different purpose. The first one is mostly to comply with the regulator, and the second one, the main purpose is more to learn, right? Not responsibilities, but to try to prevent a new occurrence. Okay. I'm not sure if I can move it. Oh yeah, I can move it. Perfect. I have control. Okay, perfect. So you already know about the mandatory system and these pillars. Okay, structure for according to the purpose, the regulator, and the context that we have in different countries like Chile and Canada, and provincial regulations or federal regulations in this case, or national regulations in my country, right? No, I don't have access anymore to move to the next one. I'm gonna need your help.
Do you want to try again?
Yeah, now I have access. Okay, so this was the process and the problems of not access to the proper information, because that was not the main purpose of the system, not to try to teach the rest of the industry how to do things better, and not again in this recurrence of these same accidents. So the lack of information, proper information is there, right? So voluntary system, the idea was completely different. That's why we have different pillars here. I think the most important part probably is this independent governance that they have the system, mostly because the organization must trust in who is running the system to provide the proper information to make the system work. And that's why, for example, for the first two systems that is in the list, NASA is the option, right? And I'm going to share a couple of insights that we have in one interview with NASA, right? I'm going to try to move to the next one now. Perfect. So system for mining is not something new. We had an experience back in the 2013, kind of when this started, of an information system. So why this is different from a reporting system? Because the idea of this risk gate created for the University of Queensland and coal mining sector industry in Australia was not to report, was to learn. So was based in a group of professionals from the university, and also for the big mining companies back in that date in Australia, to create a big database of events, accidents, the whole process, the whole evaluation of what happened, the consequences, and the safety measures to prevent a recurrence of this topic. So that was a pretty good idea that created good results, but sadly, that cease of operation for what the information we have access to, for lack of funding, right? So that was the problem for our system, and that's as a pretty good starting point for any proposal for the sector to have that experience that already works, and see what's happened from now, right? I'm going to try to move now for the next. What is a key changer now for what you already know about systems and the states of the condition of this mandatory voluntary system? A previous attempt in Australia is the actual technology. And that was another core line of this research, to try to find out what is out there, what systems, these systems at what extent, and what different process of the same mining sector are actually doing, are really doing now with technology and AI, right? So for mining, technology and AI is nothing new to, and that's a problem. They leave the little brother of safety behind of the whole process of the whole this ball, right, that is running. Because they have been running digital twins, for example, for the mining process, for explorations, for mineral processing too, for 20 years now. And with the new technology for the last 10 years with AI, they've been using also. So why not now to put that in service of safety, right? So the idea is to use actual technology and large language models, AI, GPTs, and cloud, and all these systems, to transform this data that's segregated out there of incidents and put it there, connecting the dots in real information for the industry. Okay, we have actually this the capabilities and features of this AI technology, of these large language models, to create or transform information using semantic search, to connecting information, connecting keywords, to transform and to create prescriptive analysis, not just telling you, okay, this is what is happening, this is a family, this is what it looks like, not but now, this is what the things that you should be doing or you could be doing to prevent or to improve your safety. So the actual technology, again, to summarize the slides, is not a new thing for mining, even less for the rest of the industries there's out there. So now it's time to take that in the safety case, right? I'm going to move for the next one. Perfect. So, and probably this is one of the part of the project of the investigation that I enjoy the most. This field consultation that we have with real companies out there, mining companies, services companies, and running these administrators of actual systems right now, right? So we have a specific, we surveyed specific 10 different mining companies in Canada and in Chile, connecting with HSC managers and mid-levels and supervisors too. We wanted to have the whole idea, the whole process, not just what the top level is seeing or the point of view, but the whole change. And we also have 5 direct interviews. What is that? We have real interactions like this, right? A conversation with real important people that is part of these different systems. One of the most important conversations, at least personally, was this conversation with the administrator of the systems of NASA, right? The aviation reporting system and the close call reporting system. Okay, that was very enlightening to see for a first-hand and directly from the source, what does the system look like? What is the process to create, to put it in place, and what are the things that they lack? And still, after so many years, what is the issues and the problems they see for their own systems and for the proper use of the system? So, as a summary of everything, we have a couple of important ideas here to show you what is this and what is the industry is actually seeing out there. For this survey and these interviews, for example, 0%, no one is actually using some sort of technology or AI to enhance, to improve their analysis and learning from incidents. So there's no system, at least internally or externally, that these companies are using for that, okay? 40% of these companies are only reviewing their past when a new thing happens. So when they have a new accident, most of the time, okay, let's see if this happened to us before. Okay, it happens 2 or 3 times. What are we going to do now? So it's not a systematic approach. It's only when something new happens. And only 10% of these companies actually measure the recurrence reduction of accidents as part of their KPIs and their management. So that's very interesting too. So what is happening with this situation? The information, both the same companies, is mostly internally. They're trying to learn for what they happen to themselves, but they're not sharing information. They're not obtaining information, at least in a systematic way, from the rest of the industry. And situations, for example, like an accident that happened in the same company, in the same mining company in a mine site here in British Columbia, it happened 6 months later in Chile. Same accident. So not even internally, sometimes the information is shared properly, right? We don't have consistent review cycles. You can see that for numbers. We are only checking things in mining, at least for this review when a new thing happens, okay? We have data, but we're not transforming that in actual information to be used. And prevention, as a number, is just assumed, but it's not measured actually to create something relevant, right? I'm going to move to the next one. Perfect. So at the end of this consultation, we have more ideas to try to create or to develop a proposal, right? So this is from people. This is from real people answer questions from this survey, telling you one of the most important fears. For example, for one of the questions that I asked you, what is these things that are going to prevent you from report? Fear to be okay, under the leash, right, to be the one who is reporting, to be the one who's going to be responsible. Fear of punitive consequences. This is one of the most important things that people is saying against these systems. We still have strong confidentiality concerns. One of the things I remember from these interviews with NASA, they say after 15 years, for example, from this close call reporting system in the train sector, after 15 years of running the system, they still seeing this readiness of the people. They have these concerns. Okay, I don't want to be there. I'm going to have bad consequences for myself. They still think about that after 15 years. So it's still a pretty important problem, right? We have a lack of neutral or independent system. This is what the people are seeing. It's just a regulator. There's no one there. It's just that. Not industry level systems. There is no company actually using a real system. They are part of institutions or organizations that are out there that we're going to mention as part of the proposal, but not for an actual system to share the information. Fragmented information is the result of what we're seeing here. And we don't have pattern detection because the information is still kept in silos. Companies are learning or trying to learn and not repeat their own accidents. Right? I'm moving to the next one. Perfect. So after all of that, okay, we know what is out there. We know the mandatory system. We know the voluntary system. We already conduct this survey. We have a lot of ideas. What are the main considerations that we're going to take to set up a proposal, to set up a system? What are the answers that we need to, the questions that we need to answer to ourselves to create something useful? The first one, we need to define an objective. What is the purpose for a system in the mining sector? It's going to be punitive, it's going to be more than that we already have, or is something else? Who is going to govern this? How we're going to run the system? Who is going to run the system? Okay, how we're going to increase and keep this credibility and trust? How is going to be the reporting conditions? How we're going to make people to feel comfortable at the moment of reporting, not just people, organizations too. We already have and these barriers very present to us in this survey. So what we're going to do with that. The quality of the data, we're going to talk about that too in the proposal, but that's one of the pillars of the system because it's very important to have actual data that we can work with. Otherwise, the system is not going to generate this extra value that we want. How we're going to spread the information, keeping the confidentiality and all these concepts are highly important in this type of systems. This is more for the organization, the user organization, how impactful is going to be this learning, and that depends a lot of their own actions of these own companies, how we're going to take this information and do something relevant to that. And one of the key factors that is in the current period now, what is the technology that we're going to use? Okay, and for this we choose a specific type of technology and AI to propose a conceptual framework for a system. Okay, and moving to the next one. And this is the system. This is the proposal. This is trying to put all the ideas that are in the air. Okay, I know things, but now let's try to create something that is going to be useful. That's the whole point. And taking in my bag all the years of experience, of field experience, we came out with this system that again is not creating a new wheel. We're not discovering fire here. We are taking all the good practices and the good the systematic and the process of the system that are running out there that are working now in a mining context, something that the mining sector actually doesn't have. Okay, so these are the main stages that we're going to cover. We're going to walk through the system now, but it's the report itself, how we're going to do that, or how organizations are going to do that. We're going to have review and analysis. These are the internal stages in the system, number 2 and 3, how we're going to generate the insights and trends. Technology is one of the key factors here. The actual outputs of the system, what we're going to generate to our associates or organizations. And finally, to close in this loop, how organizations were going to take this information to create something useful. Okay, The core principles of the system is, again, independent governance. We're creating here a system to learn, to prevent recurrent accidents. This is not punitive, so the regulator is not part, at least is one of the stakeholders, but it's not part of the governance of the system. To make it very clear, and to put feet on the earth, not an idea in the clouds, right? So who could run something like this in the mining sector? We have identified, for example, the Canadian Institute of Mining here in Canada. At an international level could be the International Council of Mining and Metals. Why these two institutions? Because the big mining companies and the mining sector are already participating in this association. So the credibility and the trust is not going to be a problem, at least if you consider that part. And a matter of fact, just as a parenthesis of the system of the presentation, the Canadian Institute of Mining at this moment is currently carrying out a survey exactly like we did with one university in Ontario, because they are trying to develop the first national database of accidents in mining sector here in Canada. So they are doing exactly what we did first, right? But they are doing exactly now. What is the problem? They're seeing the same problem out there, and they try to create the first national database. At least a database, maybe not a reporting system, but a database is going to be something useful, probably. So now we're going to walk through the system in a practical way, a practical approach, taking one of the accidents that we analyzed at the beginning, the same accident that passed through the mandatory process. Now we're going to use the same idea to cover the whole process of this voluntary system of knowledge, right? So I'm moving to the next one. So stage one, it's pretty much the same. The reporting stage is not new for the mining sector. It's well structured. We already have the description of what we need to create a good report with enough information, the necessary information. Okay, so in this case, this is going to be pretty much the same. The reports could be preliminary or final reports, like many systems are accepting now, and you could be updating the information at the time that information is being generated or created, right? So the report stage for organization is going to be exactly the same. In this case, it's well, for the next slide, I'm going to move next. For stage two, review and analysis, we have the first key, very important, this confidentiality concept, the anonymization of the information, who's reporting, and the company is, for the proposal of the system, is kept confidential for the institution that is running the system, and also for the organization. So no one's knows basically who is reporting. We have a token system to communicate each other internally, but the idea is to create this environment of comfort for people, organizations, to actually report everything that is happening out there, right? We have internal process of validation, and here is when AI and technology and the human experience came to life. Here we're going to use these large language models to analyze the information that is being reported, to analyze if we have enough, if we have the proper information to create and generate the insights and the proper trends analysis later. Okay, so this is an internal part of the process. Moving to the third part. Okay, and this is when the magic happens. It happens on this, right? So this generate insights and trends. What is the key of the system? That is not only analyzing this accident as an isolated analysis, right? It's not just this accident. It's everything that is happening in the industry that could be related with this accident in specific. That's why we have this recurrent pattern analysis, critical insights, and trends. The system is going to take all the previous information that is already there in the system to analyze what is happening now and how this new event could be related and could generate new information for the purpose of the system. Okay, moving to the next. Outputs, and this is probably one of the most important parts, what the system is going to deliver to the associates, to the organizations that are there to learn. We have two ways to deliver this. push outputs. This is the automatically the system is giving you information, but not, again, the isolated information, not just the report of that accident, because you need to learn from everything. Okay, I'm going to learn from this, but what is happening with all the previous accidents in the organization and how these accidents are attacking each other? Okay, what is the trends here? We have incident details, the key factors, recommended actions in general and in specific, linked to full case and similar events, and prompt to review detailed controls and lessons, right? And the second approach is a pull approach. These are the same companies and organizations searching for specific information. This is pretty useful when you're planning, when you're designing your process, to know ahead, to plan ahead what could happen and how to prevent all the possible inconvenience, right? So with semantic searches that AI allowed us this day to do that, and by keywords, we can search, for example, hull truck collisions, vehicle interaction risks, or any other concepts that you could consider interesting. And the system is going to give you back same information, relevant information for you, like full case database, similar SIF, this is severe and fatal cases, common causes, control failures, and safety measures to prevent that of work in other operations. So this is probably the different part of the system. For the actual system, voluntary or mandatory, out there are mostly repositories of information that you have to look for if you know what happened, if you know the name, if you know the specific key of an event. In this case, the system is going to feed you with information that you should know, should be interesting for you, not just the topic or the one point that you're asking for. And moving to the next. This is the internal process. This is what the system is hoping that is going to happen now for the side of the organization per se, or the organizations that are taking this knowledge now. This internal application, right? First, an update in their own maybe procedure standards that this new information could generate, the implementation of that, and receive the internal feedback. Okay, we know that in our site in Canada, an accident happens. We have the measures. We're going to take it now. And let's see what's happening here. What are our internal results? And to close the loop, the final loop of these 5 stages, we expected to have a feedback loop from the organization. The same organization that reports or organizations that are taking this knowledge now could report back to the system if the measure that the system creates and recommend are actually used for and actually creating an improvement in safety, right? And that's the cycle of this analysis and the difference that we could create with the application and use of this new key like technology, AI, and a differentiation of the process of the purpose, right? I'm moving to the next. So for what we learned from the different systems that are out there, the voluntary system mostly, the expected benefits and also the limitations that we can pre-see on a system like this in the mining context are the ones we have here. As a benefit, we know that accidents are not a linear process. It's not something that happened for just one cause. It's a multi-cause event. But at least with a system that is giving you now knowledge, actual practical information, we and the system are showing that real information could create a real improvement in your overall safety, right? That's a kind of general idea. In particular, we are looking for a specific, have the proof of the real reduction of recurrent accidents. We don't want more holes crashing live vehicles again, because that happens a lot. We have the information, now it's time to take the proper actions. This is not just an ideal. This reduction of recurrent events already happened in one of the systems, the close call reported systems, the train sector in the States, report in one of the final reports a couple of years ago that after 15 years of running this system, they have measured the reduction in like 3 major incidents from the past. So things that are continually happening to that industry are not happening anymore. And one of the factors that are attributing this creation of the system and having now the information and be able to share the information with all the associates. And as a general term too, try to improve the overall management of the company. We know that an accident is always money at the end of the line, and that could be the cool part. So if nothing is happening to us, at least at the organizational level, it's always going to be reduced costs, operational costs, efficiency, etc. Right? So this is always could be translated to money, anything. So this is also part of that, to try to sell the system as a most, could be a way of saying, right? The proper limitation of a system like this, and this is pretty important to have it in mind, because it's going to happen, is the system runs, and the most important pillars, remember, is the governance of the system, but the system runs on trust and credibility. So if organizations don't trust in the system is not going to work. If people are not reporting, the system is not going to work. So we need to work in that first, and that was always a barrier of the previous system. Even the aviation system, after 50 years, they still have the same issues of trust, right? Data quality depends 100% of the time of how consistent and how important is the information that is being provided, okay? So again, probably one of the problems also that this risk gate system in Australia, more than just the lack of funding, was they maybe just keep the previous information of the system. And the system was not fitted regularly with new incidents, with new advanced, new technologies. So maybe it got obsolete at some point. So that could be another problem for a system like this. If people is not buying in, if people is not reporting, the system like this is not going to work. And at the end, this could be something very obvious, but I wanted to bring into the conversation, because if we don't have the good faith of all the participants in the system, nothing is going to work. And I want to point an example of this. Probably you have here one of the last big mining accidents back in my country in Chile. Was the last year when 6 people died under an underground collapse for one of the major companies, mining companies in Chile, right? What was the problem? Well, according with the investigation behind, after a lot of months, one of the factors, besides all the operational factors and stuff, was the high managers of this company were hiding information for previous accidents to try to avoid them complications with the regulator. So if we started from that point, we're doomed. Okay, it's not a system is going to work if we don't trust each other and if we don't have that good faith to put it in the system. This is a system that is going to make us to improve, to learn from our past, from our present, and to try to give us the tools to try to prevent the future accidents, right, and the future lives. I'm moving to the next. As a conclusion, to try to again put the feet on the ground, as many fields in the current times, we have a lot of information. Information is out there, but by tons, immense quantity of information, safety information, wake up information, a lot of information every day. But the problem is we are not processing that information. We keep these dots separated in these islands, but we are not connected. And now it's time that the health and safety area, and safety per se, for people, for everyone, put his pants and take this approach as something that they must do now, right? So we need to move ahead to transform one step further, to have the information, to connect the information and create this network of knowledge in the benefit of the whole industry, right? So, and probably that's the goal. And I'm moving to the last one to close that, because we're already a little bit past the hour. I really want to thank you for that, to still be here. But that's my call now, and consider what we have discussed. What problems could we solve just connecting what we know? The problem is not information again. The problem is we don't have maybe the proper systems to make that information actual knowledge, and at the end to use them to prevent all the critical situations that could be there. Okay, thank you very much to everyone, and I'm totally open to questions. I hope I'm not boring you too much.
No, not at all. Thank you, Pablo. At the start of the presentation, you talked about trust when you mentioned NASA, and why is NASA involved in was it train transportation? Yeah. But and so yeah, trust is a big thing. So but then now when you went on to talk about this knowledge system, I'm assuming it's within an organization. So in other words, we retain trust and truth in the data. I'm just curious if there's been any attempt to filter external data to expand that knowledge base, and to expand it to situations, incidents, I guess, outside of the organization that your organization could learn from, and maybe apply some preventative safety measures, but while still retaining some level of trust in the data that you're processing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and that's the step to do now, right? So is to try to create the proper measures and environment to make people and organizations comfortable to share the information that we need. One of the characteristics that we propose for the system is to try to keep this confidentiality concept as large as possible for the whole process. So not even in internal communications from the administrator of the system and who is reporting, we are going to know faces, for example. That's not the idea. We're proposing a token system to communicate, just to have a line of communication, but not to have an email, for example, because we can tell who's behind that email, right? But that's exactly the purpose of the idea, to create that scenario, to create that environment that is going to make organizations to share the information with that purpose, not to put you in a disadvantage, because maybe that was your point, how we're going to compare myself now with an organization that is fighting the same contracts that I'm trying to win with another, right? So
right, yes.
It's there's some constraints that system and these same managers on mining sectors, they speak the same. So okay, we want to learn. Obviously, we don't want to keep falling the same accidents. But at some point, we have that constraint, right? We cannot share everything. We are not friends, but we're not enemies too. But this is a competition, right? So at some point, it's complicated. But this is something that the systems and the whole stakeholders must be put some sort of agreement to make this system works. I think the experience of this system that has been running for 50 years, like the aviation reporting system in the States or the close call reporting system, 15 years now, should be something to take very seriously as a path. Maybe not to follow like step by step, but to have a clear idea, okay, what it was, how it was, and okay, what we're going to do better in this case, taking all the good practices they have.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ivan.
Yeah, I just wondered, do you have any data? I guess you have access to international data. Do you have any data on any mining accidents in Kenya?
One of the sources that we consult was directly located in the African continent. I can share with you that research was directly from, I don't remember if it was from Nigeria or something like that. But yeah, there is a proper actual statistics from Africa.
Yeah, I have a very close contact who is the dean of the School of Mines and Engineering at a university in Kenya. And I'd like to get you together with him because I went on their website and I noticed that there's no mention of safety or accidents on the website. So I'd like to get you in touch with the dean of schools of the School of Mines and Engineering, and maybe you could give a guest lecture to the school.
I would love that. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, actually, there's some information from Africa, but the first idea, and we didn't put it here directly because obviously the scope was not a comparison between my home country and the actual reality in Canada, but try to create something in the middle, right? So because most of the mining companies here with the headquarters here in Canada, they have mine sites back in Chile, right? So it's kind of a same companies in different sectors. So the idea was to kind of create just one big thing in between these two countries. But we consult, I remember at least one specific from African countries with their own reality. And I can tell you, if we are suffering, they are suffering 3, 5, or even 10 times more of what we have here.
For sure, absolutely. For sure.
Yeah.
He and I are doing a study on geothermal energy. So we're looking at the geothermal industry in Kenya. That's very big.
Oh, fantastic! Fantastic. Very interesting.
Good. Mohammed.
Thanks, Paulo. It's a very interesting presentation. A quick question about the reporting system. I believe you have kind of a template for a reporter. If it doesn't exist, can you please elaborate more about the information that you want to capture in this template, so you can use it when you use AI, stuff like that, to make it like, define some features, or when you do this kind of, AI stuff?
The proposal, the reporting stage of the proposal. That's what you're asking, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, I believe it is like in slide 12, I believe. Perhaps. I'm not sure if I'm correct.
Okay. Professor Ali, if you can help me to go to that slide, please.
I changed to that, but I think this might have to do more with later slides around 18 minutes. This is 12, but I'm sure. Oh, okay, based on slide now.
I'm not sure, Ali, maybe I'm mistaken, but because I just saw that, you see here, like, energy source. I'm not sure about this because basically you need more information about the source of incident. Like, is it kind of human error? Is it related to process failure or equipment failure, environment, or whatever? I believe you need to add more.
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. Right?
Yeah, no, this is just a brief description to show you the type of concepts or key descriptions that you need for the system. But we didn't get directly in that part of the reporting stage because at least mining sector is already have a well structure for that. Here in Canada, back in Chile, pretty much very similar. If you compare the manuals of the guides of the sector to what to report and how. So in this case, we're planning to keep following the same path, right? So we are not getting directly there, but in this case, just these few 6 points is just to show you kind of the idea of what the reporting stage is going to collect as information. But yeah, it's plenty more or more details to collect.
So did you try to run AI and to get a forecast or to predict in future what's going to happen based on the data you feed your system?
Actually, yes. I use I compare Claude with the OpenAI Plus. That's the one that you can access as a normal user, right? As a private user. To have analysis of different reports from my previous work back in Chile, right? And actually, we use something like on a very minor level, kind of our artisanal level, to analyze our own paths and trends to create our programs for the next year. So this is what is happening, and the AI back 2 years ago was already creating and proposing measures for you to improve according to your path. So, and obviously, and that's why we have there considered also the human experience, because sometimes we know that the AI still have this concept, what we call it, kind of hallucinations sometimes. It's not exactly accurate, right? Not all the time.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it says. It's not accurate. You must double check always information. And that's why the human experience is a vital part of the process too. Yeah, but yeah, actually AI and large language models can do that for you in a not perfect, obviously, but in a pretty good manner.
But it takes us back to that trust question, right? So, and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, modeling, I'm curious about what place modeling would have in this, and Ivan Taylor could probably talk about that one. Ali, you have your hand up.
Thank you.
I was gonna follow up on what Mohammed was talking about. So obviously Pablo's scope was not that. We didn't go deep into the reporting side of things, but I was gonna plug some other work that I did. I'm gonna put a link in the chat. But the work that Pablo was doing was inspired by another. So when I was working at the Canadian Space Agency, part of my job was accident investigation. And essentially, I developed a system for us internally to kind of do that, inspired by how the Transportation Safety Board of Canada does it. And then later on, we created, with a different organization, we created a proposal for how, for example, you can adapt a system like this to space, including what fields you would have. And in fact, there is an existing system that NASA has, for example, where they have taken existing reports and extracted the information to create like a way of for a mission manager to look at the type of mission they're doing and understand some of the very common issues that happen. And there are some common public tools that NASA has provided for that. So I just wanted to kind of share that. In mining, Riskgate did have a reporting kind of structure, data structure that potentially, I think, if in mining you wanted to implement, you would go and pick that. And when we talked to the NASA director for the two systems that Pablo talked about, she mentioned that they are creating a standard because there's a lot of interest in other sectors to use that. It's a data structure standard based on the type of incidents. And a lot of it is how do they tag the incidents and kind of allowing the ability to define new tags, but there are very standard tags also. And based on the fact that a lot of this information usually is narrative based. So the goal is for the people to describe, like for the pilots to describe what happened, as opposed to like putting it in categories. In some other sectors, like marine sector, it's more of a checklist, but in very complex environments like aviation, they've learned that narrative based is better. And that's where using LLMs and tools like that becomes useful, because with a narrative, then the LLM can read that and kind of convert it to a standard language if you want to do something like that. So yeah, that was just a comment.
Yeah, just to add a little bit to Ali's, like because I believe in aviation we have a very strong process. Have you checked FAA, for example, like within your research?
Yeah, so FAA would be a mandatory system. So in addition to what FAA, or in Canada, the Transportation Safety Board requires you to report, we have systems that are for close calls. So when an accident did not happen, but there was a potential in the future to be an accident. So these voluntary systems are really focused on those near misses or close calls. If you get enough close call information from multiple, let's say, aircraft operators, you might suddenly see that, oh, like there's 5 aircraft operators that have reported this particular issue. And it seems that there's an opportunity there to stop something. So that's kind of the idea behind the voluntary system. So we looked at both of. I looked at both of them. I think in Pablo's case, he looked more on the voluntary side.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the idea to overdrive the system that already there. We know that the importance of a mandatory system, the purpose is different, and we need to be accountable. We need to be responsible for what is happening, obviously. And for the other hand, we also need a system that is designed to learn, right? So to not repeat or recurring events. That's the whole point.
Ivan.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Ali, are you a member of the Safety Systems Working Group?
At INCOSI?
Yeah.
I observe what they do, but yeah, not actively.
Yeah, I just wondered if Pablo would find anything interesting there that you could direct him to.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm open to all the invitations.
Very good. Well, with that, I think we should probably call time here. It was really good that you were able to go a little bit of overtime here, Pablo.
Yeah.
And it's
really
unfortunately
appreciate
we overcame. As I say, we're resilient. We overcame the technical difficulties. Thank you, Ali.
Exactly.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. And
Thank you
I can see there's going to be.
For the opportunity. Is something new for me, but that's exactly the point where we start this research. Try to do something useful for my industry, at least, that obviously is completely, or not so different, but different from what you're used to. But at some point, we lack the same things and we suffer the same problems. So
yes,
the idea was that, to give my impression, my point of view, and to try to be helpful somehow.
Yes. Well, you definitely are helpful. Thank you very much. Yeah, there's some further conversation and I think contacts that are going to follow from this. I know Ivan had mentioned his colleagues in Kenya. Okay, well, with that, I think we'll wrap up the session. Thank you, Pablo, and thank you everybody for joining. And for those who are going to be listening to the recording, tuning into the recording, our next presentation is on April 21st, and I look forward to seeing everybody there. Thanks very much. Good night. Thank you, Pablo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pablo. I'm trying to end the meeting and it's not, the button's not working.
No, I think I have to end it. Thank you. Bye.
Oh, I see. Okay, take care. It's not ending. I'm not sure.